This is the Dzogchen Sunday Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This morning, let us explore how veganism could shape your meditation in 2026, and after that, we will our live stream will continue with group meditation. Let's begin by exploring the significance of loving kindness. When it comes to Buddhism or any other spiritual tradition, it can fit all the permutations can be organized in two categories: the proto-Buddhism or institutional Buddhism, Yin's spiritual matriarchy or Yang's religious patriarchy. The path of Yin has always been very easy, very efficient, and very quick. In proto-Buddhism, we learn that enlightenment is simply mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. When we take a deeper look at the Eightfold Path, we learn that 50% of it pertains to loving kindness, and that loving kindness dovetails with the four bases of mindfulness. What are the four bases of mindfulness? They are the mental, the interpersonal, the physical, and the circumstantial. When we practice authentic mindfulness and meditation, then practicing kind intention, kind communication, kind conduct, and kind commerce become an inevitability. So let's return back to the outline. There are many things we can do that are kind. The late Tulku Thondup insisted that the highest love was the spontaneous and uncontrived byproduct of mindfulness and meditation. If we are going to survive as complex organisms, every day we must drink water, eat food. The question is, are we going to eat food in a way that multiplies harm or reduces harm? The World Health Organization has already determined that a well-planned whole food vegan diet is ideal for any and every stage of life. So, since it is not dangerous and actually beneficial, why do we persist in paying other people to exploit, torture, torment, and murder other living beings because we want a snack? Consider the animals that we abuse. For instance, cows, pigs, chickens, fish. Ask a neuroscientist, and they will tell you that they each have a dopamine-oriented reward system, which drives them to want to live and not die just like us. They each have an organelle known as the anterior cingulate gyrus, the seat of empathy, wherein they want to love and be loved just like us. This is not an issue of belief. This is not an issue of personal opinion. This is a fact. Entities that can feel, that can perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, know when they're being harmed. Entities that can emote, intend, reason, recall, and imagine know when they are companions or distant or close, and when they are being cut off from them. This has been tested time and time again. And if you wish to learn more about this, you can always Google Dominion, which is, last time I checked, a free video online, narrated by Academy Award winner Joaquin Phoenix. So let's now discuss the neuroscience of loving kindness and authentic meditation. We'll begin by exploring inauthentic meditation. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. "90% of meditation teachers have yet to transcend their conditioning to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. In fact, they say these are good, useful attributes. It should come as a little surprise then that these are the people who implore us to actively focus and actively analyze. The only regions of our brain that are capable of performing active analysis or active focus would be the dorsolateral and medial prefrontal cortex. When we overwork them, we cannot help but begin presenting with symptoms of depression, no less triggering our amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression, which I'm sure you will agree are the opposite of peace and love. However, there's some good news. Neither our amygdala nor our prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. We have a spinal cord, whose fancy name is the nexus of our autonomic nervous system. It has two parts, an inner part and an outer part. When we passively cooperate with our autonomic nervous system, not only is the anxiety and aggression of our amygdala calmed, but the empathy latent within our anterior cingulate gyrus is gently stimulated. The more we therefore cooperate with our autonomic nervous system, the easier and easier and easier it's going to be to make kind choices. Quick editorial note. There are some people who say, well, I can't afford to eat vegan. But the poorest peoples on the earth subsist on vegan diets. There was a time when there were 99-cent stores. Now there are dollar stores. But shopping at a 99-cent store or dollar store exclusively, one can still eat 3 square meals a day, comprised of beans, rice, fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, herbs, seasonings, and the like. Oh yeah, nuts and seeds as well, for about $5 a day. So there is no financial obstacle to a whole food vegan diet. It's not for elite folk. It's not for privileged folk. It's for anybody who can afford to eat. So let's return to the issue at hand, neuroscience. We've learned that inauthentic concentration and contemplation undermine our ability for empathy, which is a bummer. So how do we fix this? Well, we practice mindfulness. How do we do that? Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are already wired to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, which could be described as the nexus of our sympathetic nervous system. It has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way. It has evolved to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. All of them, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. Hey, how's about a rule of thumb? Make sure you can see what's going on over here. There you go. How's about a rule of thumb? The most efficient way for us to practice mindfulness is for us to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this every time we feel our body inhale. However, the question remains, what are we to do with all that stuff that we noticed? And the one-word answer is simply meditation. I'll explain. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we have already evolved to automatically access the tippy top and the very bottom of that same spinal cord. Together, these two end zones can be described as the nexus of our parasympathetic nervous system. It has evolved to help us to physically relax during our exhalation to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and even less graspable, at least for a moment, at least partially, until the next inhalation when the cycle begins afresh. So the rule of thumb is simple. All we got to do to practice the most efficient way to practice meditation is for us to silently and mentally recite the verb rest every time we feel our body exhale. You see, the purpose of meditation is not to control what we perceive. It is simply to cooperate with our autonomic nervous system in a deliciously subversive manner that causes us to effortlessly escape the tendrils of Yang's religious patriarchy and rediscover the birthright, our birthright of Yin's spiritual matriarchy. It helps us to be flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. When we live our life from our amygdala, from anxiety and aggression, kindness seems an absurdity. However, when we passively cooperate with our autonomic nervous system, empathy is as natural as breathing. The Buddha's method is wonderful. You see, in the penultimate passage of the Satipatthana Sutta, it is written that one could master the Buddha's path in as little as 7 days, which infers that this path is easy and egalitarian and efficient. What can be more efficient than playing with mindfulness and meditation once every 12 hours or so in such a way that we automatically experience the wisdom of impermanence and emptiness, that we automatically experience loving kindness, and that we automatically go with the flow. There's a reciprocal relationship between veganism and meditation. The more we meditate authentically, the easier it is to have empathy for all living beings, including cows and pigs and chickens and fish, including your neighbor who might not vote the way you wish. And the more we indulge our empathy and our kindness and our compassion, the easier it is to meditate. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. For Meditate Like a Jedi is made possible thanks to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of the live stream, together let us meditate like a Jedi. Let's play with two methods to gently invite our subtle energies to coalesce in our lower abdomen. The first one draws from the Vajrayana tradition of Tantric Buddhism. I'm going to walk you through the process of assuming the mandala mudra. All right, so let us rest our right index finger upon the palm, our left palm. Let us use our left index finger to hug the right. Let us rest our left middle finger on our right palm and use our right middle finger. Oopsie, I got confused. Let's try that again. Okay, take two. Let's rest our right middle finger upon our left palm and use our left index finger to hug the right middle finger. Let's rest our left middle finger upon our right palm and use our right index finger to hug the left. Let us arrange our ring fingers as if they were kissing. Let us rest our right little finger upon our left palm and hug it with our left thumb. Let's rest our left little finger upon our right palm and hug it with our right thumb. So there you go. This might seem overwhelming, but practice with me once every 12 hours or so, and with a week or two, all these techniques you could master. So now let's just rest this in our lap, which does a great job of inviting our subtle energies to coalesce in our lower abdomen. Okay, so I'm going back to button 4. In the, let's see here, if you're watching on the Tube app, then together we can chant the 4 lines in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Be show wise for all minds, mantra love for all speech, Devi health for all forms, and Vati boon for all lots. What we're doing is we're bringing the 4 bases of mindfulness, the mental, the interpersonal, the physical, and the circumstantial, into the path of love, where we wish good things for them, such as wisdom, love, health, and good fortune. Bija wise for all minds, mantra love for all speech, Devi health for all forms, and Vati boon for all lots. Bija wise for all minds, mantra love for all speech, Devi health for all forms, and Vati boon for all lots. The blending of metaphor with loving kindness is sometimes described as the union of love and emptiness, the Tantra Mahamudra, or the leap over known as Tokal. And now let us discuss a second, more elegant method for accomplishing the same thing energetically. We could rest the lower knuckle of our right little finger upon the tip of our left little finger, palms up in our lap. Remember, the most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this every time we inhale. And that the most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the verb rest every time we exhale. Together as a team, let us do that now. The free fall of meditation, it's books. The free fall of meditation can sometimes trigger our rigid and controlling tendencies. Here's an end run around that. Could be practicing a variation of Bengali crease counting to time our meditation. Every time we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we can advance our right thumb up the creases of each of its fingers. Doing so over the span of 12 breaths takes about a minute. Let's do this together right now. Having run out of creases on my right hand upon which to rest the tip of my right thumb, I could return my attention to my left hand and advance my left thumb. And so we can see how on our left hand we can count 12 sets of 12 inhalations each. Now you might say, what if I want to count more than 12 minutes? No problem. Remember, all this time we've been resting, we've been touching the lower knuckle of our right little finger. to the tip of our left little finger. When we want to gather a second collection of 12 sets of 12 inhalations, we simply slide the tip of our left little finger up to the second knuckle of that same little finger. And so we see it's possible to count 1, 2, and even 3 collections of 12 sets of 12 inhalations if we so desire. Because when we watch the emboldening of fascist elements within our society, we know that people can be arrested and their possessions, including their mullahs and the smartphones, can be confiscated. But we'll always have our hands, and hence our ability to practice. The moment you have a specific question about the philosophy or about the philosophy or techniques that support meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. For I tend to check for questions about once every 5 minutes or so. an external way, a very coarse. One of the things we can do to gently invite our subtle energy to coalesce at the crown of our head is to press our palms together in the puckered palm position and rest it at the top of our head while chanting Lama come to this crown. 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 In Tibet, that is known as that is known as Lama Kyeno, or calling the Lama as from afar. An additional thing we could do is as follows. We could touch the tip of our left index finger to the lower knuckle of our right index finger, palms up in our lap. And of course, do remember that the most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this every time we feel our body inhale. And the most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the verb rest every time we feel our body exhale. Let us switch gears again. We're going to practice something called Lama Naljor or Guru Yoga, which is one of two methods for gently inviting our subtle energies to coalesce at our chest. We can place our hands in the puckered palm position, and make sure it's on the camera okay, and place that in front of our sternum, just like we see in the illustration right here. We can chant the following 6 syllables, Lama, blend with this mind. Lama can mean one of 3 things. Number 1, the teacher with whom you feel a strongest connection. Number 2, it can refer to the amalgam of all your direct and indirect teachers. Or number 3, it could simply be a symbol of the teachings themselves, whichever you feel most comfortable with. Doing this helps to coarsely or forcefully draw our subtle energies to our chest. Lama, Lama blend with this mind. Lama blend with this mind. Lama blend with this mind. A more subtle method to gently invite our subtle energies to coalesce at our chest would be for us to touch the tip of our left middle finger to the lower knuckle of our right middle finger, palms up in our lap. Please remember that the most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this every time we feel our chest swell with breath. And that the most efficient way for us to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the verb rest every time we feel our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale. And again, we shift gears for the final quarter of this morning's practice. Having sat for the better part of an hour, it could feel rather refreshing to perform what I like to describe as Tibetan-style squat thrusts. While doing so, I like to recite the mantra Om Benza Sato Hum, which could be explained thusly. We invoke the diamond-like strength of a mind well trained in mindfulness and meditation, that all others might do likewise in the most wonderful way. So if you are sensitive to motion sickness, heads up, I'm going to swing the camera. So this could be a little jarring. Woof. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Now I'm going to move the camera, not the camera, but the smartphone on the floor. And I'm going to put my hair up. Okay. Woof. Om Benza Sato Hum. 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 Benza Sato Om Om 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 Benza Sato Om. What I'd like to do next are some body weight rows. Touch the feet together, reach under the shins, and pull as best you can. Excellent. All right. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening practice of meditate like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.